Hey guys, what's up? It's Ariel here. I flew all the way to Melbourne, Australia with Mecca and Morphe to teach you guys how to create this beautiful glam look on my model, Russia. I would describe my signature glam as like 90s glam done 2024. So today we're starting off with skin, and I'm going to be using the Morphe Light Form Foundation in the shade 07 Warm. Doing about 3 little pumps of this foundation. And I'm going to grab my A24 brush and just start to lightly pat it throughout the outskirts of the skin, because I'm going to be applying concealer to the center of the skin, so I don't want to load that with too much product. I don't necessarily love putting too much product on areas where the skin is already like pretty seamless. You want to make sure that those parts of the skin stay shining through and that you get those little bits of the skin that look super natural, so that it doesn't look like the skin is overloaded with makeup. When applying this foundation, you'll see how seamlessly it blends into the skin. It's almost like this water weight formula. I love this A24 brush that I created with Morphe. I just love how it applies makeup. I love how naturally radiant this foundation makes the skin look. I just feel like it gives you a really seamless, thin application of makeup that looks really flawless. When using my soft sculpt sponge, I like to use it at the end of my foundation application just to kind of smooth out any edges, make sure that I take off any excess product that's not needed on the skin, and just create like a really soft sculpt. Using the M2 bronzing stick in the shades Amber Shores and Sand Beach, I'm gonna mix both shades on this little palette I have here. And then I'm gonna be using my A58 brush. We're gonna warm up her skin and start to give her a little bit more shape before applying concealer. This formula is really creamy. I really love how it glides on the skin so smoothly. It has a really skin-like finish to it as well that I appreciate. And I really feel like this brush is really helping that product melt into the face, but it's not creating any streaks. It allows you to get right into the hollows of the cheek, but it also allows you to create a nice blend for blush around here. When applying the product, I like to tap and then blend. I want to disperse the product exactly where I need it to be, and then go ahead and softly blend it. And anything that you're bringing onto the face, you want to make sure you're dragging it down the neck so that everything's blending seamlessly. Now, using the darker one of the two bronzers, this is in the shade Amber Shores, I'm just going to deepen right under the hollows of her cheekbones. And you start to build that shape slowly. I'm brushing the bronzer over the whole entire lid area just to create balance between the bronzer that I've also applied on the rest of the face. And this will be the base color to my eyeshadow. Using the Filter Effect Concealer, I'm gonna grab my A19 brush and create a line right down the center of her nose. This is gonna be my guide for her nose highlight. The firm bristles of this brush really allow for a super precise application, and I love that it gives me that shape before blending it out. So I have a really structured application of my concealer. I'll grab a little bit of the concealer at the edge of the eyes as well and kind of just lift the corner of the eyes. I'm then gonna grab my soft sculpt sponge and start to tap all the product in. Start creating harmony between that foundation, the cream bronzer, and now the concealer. Your intent is to create kind of like a spotlight in the center of the face. Using my A20 brush, I'm gonna go on the very sides of the nose and start to cinch in the nose, starting from where I originally placed that cream bronzer on the lid. At the tip of the nose, you're gonna go ahead and lightly fluff the product, and then go ahead and connect those lines together. When contouring the nose, you wanna have a very, very light hand. Working in thin layers is really important, and the pressure that you apply to the brush is also super important for your blend. Using my A29 brush, I'm gonna go ahead and apply a little bit of that cream bronzer right at the lower lash line, and this is gonna start to fuse all those colors together. I'm now going to be using the Euphoric Rush Blush in the shade Hypnotized. These swirls inside of the blush are really special because it is a primer-infused blush. It gives you that like hydration and silkiness, but also that longevity in a blush. I'm using my A3.2 brush. This very tip of the brush like allows it to blend upward, and then the base of it is concentrating most of the product. If you get a little blush happy like me, you want to take your sponge and just tap over it, and it kind of acts like an eraser for you. Sometimes I like to drag the blush into the under eye, and then I'll take my sponge and take away a little bit of that color eventually, but it kind of fuses all the colors together so that there's no like separation between anything on the face. I do a little bit on the tip of the forehead just to look like we are a little sunburnt. Just came back from Mykonos. I did. You have to also remember blush is the first thing to dry out on the face, so you will be working in layers with this and eventually adding more. So the next thing I'm gonna do is brows. I'm using the Morphe Micro Brow Pencil in the shade Cold Brew. And I love how thin the actual product is. It allows me to like get in there and add real like hair strokes almost. We're gonna comb through the brows, make sure they're all facing in the right position. Your pressure with this specific product or any brow pencil is really gonna change also the amount of coverage and color that you're putting onto the brows. So be really careful, because obviously the stronger pressure, the more dark the brow is gonna appear. The line at the bottom is kind of like to give me a guide of where I want the brow to end. Eventually I'll grab the spoolie and kind of like comb out that line so that there's not too defined of a line. Starts to give you that shape and structure that you're looking for, and then you can kind of like brush it out. I like to start towards the very ends of the brows and then work my way towards the front, because I feel like the front is the part that I want to keep the lightest and the softest. Now using the Morphe Supreme Brow, this is in the clear shade. I'm using my spoolie and just kind of combing through the brow to like set these hairs in place where we want them. I like to lift the hairs up as much as possible, and then I'll go in and like kind of comb down the hairs that I don't want up. I'm using the Nude Ambition palette from Morphe, and I'm going into the shade Headline Nudes. I'm using a fluffy brush. This is my A11, just to lightly dust and reinforce, kind of like the same shade of that bronzer that we used throughout the lid. Now you're layering it with a powder, and this is kind of like reinforcing that color. I'm gonna tap into a little bit of Raw Talent. This is a more like mauve-y, pinky undertone, and it's gonna blend into our blush a little bit better. It's important for me when I'm creating a look that the colors that I'm working with on the face all kind of work in harmony together. Using my A29 shader brush, this is like my packing brush. I'm gonna go into Raw Talent again and just kind of like press it through the lash line. This is gonna intensify that color and give the eyes a lot more warmth and depth. You want to make sure that there's no actual harsh line and that it all kind of looks like a diffused soft smoke. Grabbing my A20 brush and the color Sheer Genius, I'm gonna pop this in the center of the lid and just like lightly create a little bit of light here. Nothing too precise, kind of blown out and pretty, but still creating a little shape to the eyes. Focus most of the brightness towards the tear duct of the eye and then work your way up into the lid. Using my A18 brush and the shade Show Off, I'm gonna tight line her lower lash line just a bit and connect it to the very corner of her eyeshadow. I feel like it's the person's eye shapes that usually inspire me, because not everyone can handle that amount of depth under the eyes. So I guess, yeah, it's like a feeling. You definitely want to assess symmetry on a face before bringing shadow too low, because some people's distance between their upper lip and their nose is already kind of short. So the lower you bring this, the shorter the face becomes. This is actually a really good technique when you're trying to balance that distance between the upper lip and the nose. Now using the Morphe Bacon set in the shade Brightening Pink, I'm gonna grab a powder puff and lightly set right under the eyes. I really love this powder, guys. This is actually one of my favorite products from Morphe that I carry in my own personal kit. I like to press the powder and the powder puff into the palm of my hand just to work the powder in so that I don't hit the face with too much powder. Bringing it towards the side of the nose will help like cinch and pinch in the nose. We want to keep the perimeters nice and glowy, but in the center you want to mattify so that you can control the amount of shine on the face. Now I'm going to be using the Make It Big Volumizing Mascara in Bold Black, just to really define her lashes. So we finalized the look with mascara. I added some individuals there. I want to get to lips now so we can finalize this look. I'm using the Soul Matte Lip Liner in the shade My Boo. It's a bit more of a warm brown. Gonna play off of like the contours on her face. Kind of like overlining the Cupid's bow, but keeping the sides of the lip tucked in. I like to go in with a Q-tip and kind of like blend out the edges. On the lower lip line, you want to make sure that in the corners you're staying kind of like inside of the lip line so that you don't drag the mouth down. And then work your way towards the center, kind of going a little lower. And this will cast a shadow right under the lip that gives that really like pouty effect. I like to fill in the corners of the lip because I feel like this brings in a little bit more dimension. Kind of cinches in the corners of the lips and leaves the center really full looking, which creates a nice pout. I'm grabbing a bit of the concealer on my A19 brush and carving out the very edges of the lip to really give it that perfected lip line. This really lifts the face and makes the lips look nice and lifted in the corners. I'm now going to take the Soul Matte liquid lipstick in the shade Wifey. I love how this gives like a really velvety matte look to the lips. This one has like a slight bit of a pink undertone, so we're going to use that in the center of the lip. I'm using Drip Glass by Morphe in the shade Wet Peach. And I'm just going to apply this to the center and let it naturally bleed out. To finish off the look, I'm going to use the OG Continuous Setting Mist Spray. I'm obsessed with this. It just melts in all the powders and gives back the life to the skin that we're missing right now. You guys see that? I could keep going on for days. Boom. Hi. I'm going to use a little fan and just fan my girl off. All right, guys, so this is the final look. This is the look we created, and I created like this beautiful, like soft, focused glam with a little bit of a sultry eye. Russia, do you want to see what you look like? You're so perfect. Thank you for being my model today.
Thank you for having me.
How do you feel in this look?
So hot, it's not even... I gotta go do something with this.
All right, guys, so thank you for watching. I love you guys.